The concept of left and right wing within the spectrum of politics is far older than mainstream academia would have you believe. They suggest it originated from the period surrounding the French Revolution, where the king and his supporters were considered as right-wing, while the supporters of the revolution were seen as left-wing. This is all very well. However, when analyzing this concept from a metaphysical and astrological perspective, additional clues to its true origin begin to show themselves. First, it is necessary to view the zodiac as two polarities. The first 6 signs, from Aries to Virgo, represent the right wing of the political spectrum, while the remaining signs, from Libra to Pisces, are the left wing. The middle ground is found on the cusp of Libra, the balancing scales. The further we deviate from this balanced position, the more extreme the political system becomes in either direction. The top half of the zodiac is traditionally viewed as masculine and blue, while the bottom half is feminine and red, reflecting the standard colours adopted by the political left and right within modern politics. From the liberal position on the cusp of Libra, we can see how the political spectrum on the conservative right-wing arm tallies with the first 6 houses of the zodiac. The basic concept of conservatism is to conserve the traditions and social practices of people living within their communities, respecting the rights of the individual to own land or property while sustaining values and traditions which they are familiar with, giving them the freedom necessary to participate unmolested within society and the political process. Conservatism is not so much a philosophy as an attitude, a constant force performing a timeless function in the development of a free society and corresponding to a deep and permanent requirement of human nature itself. Leo and Cancer are the only signs in the zodiac ruled by the 2 luminaries, the Sun and the Moon. Here they represent the whole establishment of monarchy, the kings and queens within traditional patriarchal conservatism, where the male heir takes precedence over the female. Cancer is also the 4th house associated with the home environment within the zodiac. Here, the traditional patriarchal structure attributes great significance to the institution of home and family values. As we move further right, away from the rule of monarchs, we enter the thinking territory of Gemini, the twins. Here we have a small group of minds underpinning the traditional values of conservatism, similar to geniocracy, where the greatest minds of the community are promoted as rulers, where traditional conservative values are upheld by 2 or more intellectuals with the necessary compassion to generate wisdom. In Taurus we move closer to extreme conservatism, where even less people have a say in the political system. Being the 2nd house of the zodiac, concerned with personal wealth and material possessions, here we see the wealthiest member of the community taking the reins of power. The idea being that with wealth comes responsibility. So those with the most have the most to lose. Consequently, in order to keep hold of their wealth, the ruler must conserve traditions by implementing sensible policies. On the far right, we have the I Am of Aries, where one overriding ruler, usually the most authoritarian and martial-like, takes command. Traditional politics has placed fascism at this end of the scale. However, there are different types of fascism, either socialistic or conservative in outlook. Most people's idea of fascism is Nazi Germany or Mussolini's Italy of the 1930s and 40s. In the case of Germany, we saw a combination of a fascistic leader with a national socialist agenda, bringing elements of the far right in line with their leader's concept of socialism for the whole nation to follow. It is also worth pointing out that Hitler and the Nazis used the idea of the Aryan, Aries, master race to underpin their own brand of superior National Socialism. As Hitler was born on the 20th of April 1889, on the cusp of Aries and Taurus, it made him the perfect choice as leader of the Aryan Aries ideology. There is another aspect of the left and right wings to consider, one in which can be defined as either rationality or emotional. The first 6 houses of the Zodiac, considered here as right-wing conservatism, is the masculine half of the chart, ruled by the Sun, the focal consciousness. This represents the rational, logical side of the mind, whereas the left-wing, socialistic side of the Zodiac, the feminine side, ruled by the Moon and the subconscious, represents the emotional side of human thinking. The left wing of politics is comprised of socialism and communism, where the views and aspirations of the individual become subordinate to the society or community as an organization, with its overriding ideologies and objectives paramount. Here, the state makes all the important decisions concerning a person's life, owning most of the land and infrastructure, while the individual is given privileges by the state for services rendered to the state. As we progress past the liberal left of politics, we come to Scorpio, the Scorpion, the house of sex, death, rebirth and transformation. Its motto is I Desire, ruled by Mars, the planet of proactive energy. This is a doorway into socialism and the temptations offered by Lilith in the form of sexual promiscuity and free love for all. It is where traditional values and old-school cultural behavioral patterns are transformed by socialistic ideologies. In Europe and North America, the free love movement combined ideas revived from utopian socialism with anarchism and feminism to attack the hypocritical sexual morality of the Victorian era and the institutions of marriage and the family that were alleged to enslave women. Free lovers advocated voluntary sexual unions with no state interference and affirmed the right to sexual pleasure for both women and men, sometimes explicitly supporting the rights of homosexuals and prostitutes. As socialism gains ground and develops, it moves into the realm of Sagittarius, the house of higher learning, philosophy, and long-distance travel. This house and sign is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion and optimism. Here, socialism will promise more than it can deliver, by being over-optimistic as it seeks to expand new horizons into neighboring cultures. It will infest institutions of higher learning and the traditional social and philosophical norms of the day. Long march through the institutions of power to create radical change from within government and society by becoming an integral part of the machinery. Aquarius and Capricorn represent communism, an extreme version of socialism, where the state has almost full control over the lives of its citizens. The mottos for these two signs are "I know" and "I use," a perfect reflection of how a communist state views its people. It knows better and it uses them to further its own political agenda. These two signs are ruled by the planet Saturn, a planet synonymous with control, restriction, pessimism, frustration, loss, depression, and misery. Satan is the personification of this planet. Together with Moloch, they rule the crown Cliffoth down the tree of death on the left-hand path. The glyph for Saturn is the cross of materialism over the crescent of spirituality, reflecting Saturn's metaphysical orientation, a similar configuration as the hammer and sickle, which is commonly used to represent various forms of communism. At the extreme end of left-wing politics, we find socialistic totalitarianism, where the state has 100% control over its subjects. This is essentially hell on earth, where every person becomes a slave to the system, like George Orwell's 1984 or Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where the people would only be allowed to live if they submit completely. The motto for this house and sign is "I believe," because only someone indoctrinated and programmed to believe without question in the system as a utopian concept would serve it. Diet, injections and injunctions will combine from a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that the authorities consider desirable, and any serious criticism of the powers that be will become psychologically impossible. Even if all are miserable, all will believe themselves happy, because the government will tell them that they are so. Throughout history, humanity has tried nearly every kind of political system on offer, with some disastrous results. The further society deviates from the balancing scales of Libra, the more extreme consequences are inflicted on those people who are unfortunate enough to live under the conditions created. Consequently, as a result of years of trial and error, modern political systems have generally centered around the middle ground, with only marginal differences between their left and right perspectives. This is usually referred to as the 2- or 3-party system. The 2-party system in general has promoted stability and steady prosperity within its centrally based parliamentary platform, drifting only marginally from left to right as each round of political theatre eventually loses favour with its disgruntled voters. These parties, on the whole, work together to quash and alienate extreme ideologies which have the potential to cause havoc by undermining the objectives of this system's strategy towards globalization. While the extreme left wing of the political spectrum can be viewed as a journey down the left-hand path, equally, the extreme right must therefore be a journey up the tree of life towards the Creator, a situation where we see monotheism as a theocratical dictatorship imposing the law of the one and only true God or Creator, expressed through various Abrahamic religions. Bearing in mind that God said to Moses, "I am that I am," the same motto as the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, I am, a sign ruled by Mars, Mars's Moses. The name Abraham can also be viewed as an expression of the first zodiac house of the Ram, Aries, as Abram,